Hi, I'm Guy Trainin, and this is CS4NE.
And I'm Kimberly Ingraham-Beck from Gretna Public Schools.
And today we're talking about unplugged CS critical thinking puzzles, because we keep going back to the idea that CS is not just about coding, although coding is important and understanding it is important, but it is also about cyber and your general problem-solving abilities. So let's get into it.
Yes, so these are some of my favorite activities that I use in my classroom for critical thinking. The first one up, I found this from a seller on Etsy. oddlittleowls@gmail.com is what I see here. But these are social deduction activities. And so these are group activities, and you'll have a group of, I usually do 4 or 5 students, and they will have one person be out of the group. And they will be in charge of kind of leading the activity with them. And the rest of the group will be given a single clue. And so this example here is word of advice: be careful who you almost kill. And the title is called The Hot Seat. And that's all the group is given. They know they have no further information. And the one person who is leading it is going to get the solution page where they actually read through it. And this example, a mortuary employee is driving drunk one night, hits a pedestrian with his car on a lonely road. After he'll be charged, afraid he'll be charged with manslaughter, he takes the body back to the funeral home to cremate it and dispose of the evidence. What he doesn't realize is that the pedestrian was under house arrest and was wearing an ankle monitor. When the mortuary assistant took him to the funeral home, he exceeded the boundary that he was allowed to travel, and then alerted the police to his whereabouts. And so just as the attendant was pushing the body into the furnace, the police arrived and arrested him. A fortunate turn of events for the pedestrian, as he was not actually dead, but merely unconscious. But the attendant is now charged with attempted murder instead of manslaughter. Whoops. And so I know some of these are a little morbid. I should have picked a different one maybe, but not all of them are morbid. And certainly in your classroom, you can have generative AI create something similar to this and not include morbid situations. But so there's a whole lot of story that the student who is the leader or was left out gets. And the group is going to ask yes or no questions to the leader. And the leader is going to respond knowing the full story. And then there are some hints that they could give them if the group is stuck.
All right.
So I really like this. There's a whole pack. They weren't very expensive, but this Etsy seller actually created a whole bunch of them. So I usually have the students do a few, and my high schoolers, it takes between 5 and 10 minutes usually for them to get it. It may take longer.
And they have an unlimited number of questions?
And they have an unlimited number of questions, yep, but it has to be yes or no questions.
And what I would like to add is a metacognitive layer to all of this. After they play once or twice, you can start asking probing questions when they're done about what they've learned about what questions work best.
Yes.
So you reverse engineer to make them better, but also to make them aware of, because you can ask hyper-specific questions that don't help you at all or are so specific that if you get really lucky, like, you know, somebody does win the lottery occasionally, but that doesn't mean it's a probable case. So thinking about how do you create this iterative progress, how do you make guesses that are large enough but give you the maximum amount of information within a case. And so that metacognition is gold, because that's what you want them to learn when they're doing algorithms. That's what you want them to think about when they're trying to make a program more efficient or a process more efficient.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So for me, it's all in that metacognition.
That's awesome. I love it. The next thing that I wanted to show you, actually, I got this from my high school probability and statistics teacher. He did rebus puzzles as like a brain warm-up activity every day. And so rebus puzzles are word and picture exercises that challenge your imagination, expand your vocabulary, and improve problem-solving skills. So there are these little brain teasers. And so here we have the word bow in the shape of an L. And so the phrase is elbow. Over here on the right.
I thought it was broken bow.
It could also be broken bow. Yeah.
That's a Nebraska thing. If you're not from Nebraska, we're sorry.
This other one is space invaders. So we have the word vaders with the space.
Yeah.
And so try to understand, crossing guard, or cross guard. Up for grabs.
Oh,
thumbs up. So I like to have these when my students walk into the classroom along with their bell work questions.
Yeah.
And so the kids really get a kick out of it. And I also have other teachers who will come by and look at my rebus puzzles so see if they can figure them out too.
Yes, and
So-
what I love about rebus puzzles is most of them are simple enough for almost any grade level. You have to be
Yes.
able to read and know some features, morphological features or orthographic features of words. That was difficult. I don't know why. And so, but anywhere from 4th grade and up, sometimes even 3rd grade and up, you can start using them very, very effectively. So
Definitely.
this is like, and adults.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this comes from Macaroni Kid. So it's like, it feels like it's kids' activities, but it's really just about open-ended activities.
It absolutely
that
is.
force you to think.
I actually used these when I was a substitute teacher as well. And I wrote them on flashcards.
Yeah.
And then I'd have, one kid at a time would pick up a flashcard and then they would recreate this on the board and then the class would try and get it. And so it was a nice little motivator as a sub. I was like, hey, I have a fun game that we can play after you get today's activities done if we have time and stuff like that. So I've used this with elementary all the way through adults. So
All right. So fantastic. So today on CS4NE, we talked about 2 critical thinking games or puzzles
yeah.
that you can use in your classroom almost any grade. And the idea is to have students think outside the box, kind of rotate the way they're thinking and the way we're normally in schools when there's a worksheet or there's a series of questions and it's very clear what is expected, and really think differently and think critically.
Yes, absolutely.
And we'll see you next time.